It's hard to know now if I'm actually, if the game is working or if I'm just a really bad Frogger player. So the time has come to finish the Frogger game, and the good thing is that we only have the fun parts left. We're gonna handle the inputs from the user, and then we're gonna build the game logic and finally start playing the game. Let's get started, shall we? So this is our beautiful little Frogger world with our moving trucks and moving boats. And we also placed the frog at the starting position. I also added some finish flags here, some finish line flags. Okay, so we need some state handling from Recoil. I will copy paste that from another component. Let's first get the keyboard events in. So I will do that in a use effect. And key down. Let's make a function out of this. We'll call it key press handler. And then, because we make an event listener here in a use effect, we need to handle also when this component potentially would unmount, so that I would remove the same event listener. And to do that, you return a function from the use effect callback function. Then we also specify our dependencies here, which would be just the function key press handler. Let's write the key press handler function. And for that I'm gonna do a use callback, so we don't reinstantiate the function on every render. So we take in an event. Let's console log the event so we can see that everything works. Okay, it seems to work. I get some keyboard events here when I press a key, so that all seems good. I think we will eventually need 2 more pieces of state, because we're gonna need to throttle the input so that you can't have unlimited speed on the frog. The maximum amount of inputs you can send are about equal to the game update rate, if that makes sense. We should also have a piece of state that checks if the state of the frog is a valid state to receive inputs. For example, if the frog is dead, it should not react to inputs. Then we should only listen for a restart of the game event or something like that. So let's type out some new atoms here. Okay, this is what it looks like now. We have a allow input state, which is default set to true, but it can be changed for when we're not receiving inputs. We also have a game over state, and here I use recall value because the game over state will not be modified in this file. It will be modified in the game logic instead. We should also have a timer for the allow input, so we have a little timeout when we receive an input. So we set up a timer, and for that we're gonna use ref, so it will survive a re-render. Set it to false. Here we need to clear the timer if we unmount the component also, and this has the dependency on timer. So now we have game over state, we have a state that checks if we allow inputs at this point or not, and we have a timer that's going to be used together with the allow input state. So now we can probably continue with the key press handler, and we should probably prevent the fault here, and we should check the game over. If we have game over, then we should not do anything on the input, or if we don't allow input, then we do nothing. Okay, now comes some fun parts here. We start checking key codes. If e dot, I think that 37 should be the left direction. Then we should set the frog to a new position, and the frog has an object, x should be -1. But we also need to have a check here. If we go out of bounds, then we should not move it. So frog.x should be smaller than 8. Then we can do it. Otherwise, we just set it to frog.x. Y has no change. And the direction needs to be changed because that's what's updating the frog image. Left. Okay, I will repeat this for the rest of the directions. I just realized this is wrong because this is for the moving right. Here we need to be larger than 0. So I guess we could try moving the frog now. Look at the little frog. Oh, but he can go so fast now. See, this is what I mean with throttling the amount of inputs you can give it, because it will just go as fast as I want him to, and then it will be too easy. We should, once he gets a move input, we should wait for the animation to finish, and then you can do another move. It will create a little bit of a harder game. So let's add this timer in the end of the keypress handler function. So we set allow input to false. We set the timer.current to set timeout. After a certain time, we should allow for inputs again. Like that. Okay, let's try it out. Yeah, it's throttled. That's great. So that's all I can think about now that should go into the input component. So let's continue with the Frogger component, where we will do the game logic. Let's start out with getting hit by a truck. Check for truck collision. So we should have a use effect. And here's where I thought we should start creating like a game helper function, so just so that this file becomes more concise and we structure things in good small functions that's responsible for checking one thing. Let's create a function called isTruckCollision, and we should pass in our frog and the trucks, and then the function could handle the logic. So if we collide, we should set game over. I need to add the game over state here. There we go. So game over is true because we got hit by a truck. And we should also set the status of the frog to being dead, because we want to change the frog to being a dead frog. And here we can just spread the frog, and the one property we want to change is that the dead property should be true. Another way we can die is check for drowning. So here we should also have a use effect. Oh, I need to add the dependencies on this one as well. Frog trucks set frog and set game over. Now we're going to check for drowning. If is, what should we call it? It's drowning, and we should pass in frog and the boats. We should kill the frog again and also set game over. I realize now that the boats are a bit different from the trucks, because the trucks can just run you over, But if you step on a boat, then you should be able to ride the boat. That's how Frogger works. So here we'll have some more logic. We'll call this comment instead check for boat interaction, because you're not, the boats are saving you basically. So this is drowning function will have to check if you're standing on a water tile but not on a boat, then you're drowning. So we should have an else if here, is riding boat, frog and boats. So in this case, then we are just updating the position of the frog to follow along the boat basically. We have the frog, the boats, we're gonna set the frog, set game over. We might need another function here because we need to know what boat the frog is riding. So we could have a function called like get ridden boat, because if we come in here we know that it is riding a boat, so we can figure out which one it is. So we pass in the frog and the boat to this one as well. Of course should be boat here. I feel like I'm just pushing the problems ahead of me now, like not finishing the game logic functions, but it's nice to get this structure up before we start digging into all the nitty-gritty bits of the game logic. I think the last thing would be to check for the winning condition, reaching goal. We can just have another function called has reached goal, and then we just need the frog. And what we need to do if we reach the goal, we should put the frog back in the starting position, and we should probably have some score tracking or something like that. So for now I just set frog, and we can copy the same set frog that we use for the starting position, like the initial state. Let's add the dependencies for this use effect, the frog and set frog. So now we have a bunch of functions to write: is truck collision, is drowning, is riding boat, get ridden boat, and has reached goal. So I actually really enjoy writing these small functions of logic. So let's get into that now. So here we have the skeleton. Let's begin with is truck collision. Sum is a nice function because it will check if any truck is matching our condition. So if truck.x is equal to frog.x and truck.y is equal to frog.y, and then we just return this as a boolean. Yeah, that should be it. It will turn true if they are on the same coordinate. Like if the frog is in the same coordinate as any of the trucks, this will return true, I think. This was an easy one. The riding boat should be super similar to this one. Yeah. Oh, I forgot one. Export const get ridden boats. Let's do the get ridden boat now. So we check what boat has the same coordinates. So then it should be exactly this line. So this will try to find the boat that has the same coordinates. Let's do the has reached goal. That should be a simple one. Or it's less than 0. You've gone upwards of the map into the finish line. And now I think this is a little bit different because here we're checking for being on the water tiles but not on a boat. Water tiles indexes is, the top one is 0, which is grass, and then 1 is water and 2 is water. Let's do a boolean that says boat under frog, which would be this one again, or we can just use is riding boat. If these indexes include frog.y, that means you're standing on water, and if you're not riding, that means you're standing on water and you're not riding, so you are drowning. And that should cover all the situations when you're drowning. So otherwise we can return false. That was maybe everything. It was super easy, I feel like. Unless I missed something. So now we can import them into the game logic. Import, what was the last one? Is truck collision. Is truck collision. Boars. We don't have any boars in the game. Boats, boars. There we go. We get some errors here. Cannot read properties. Maybe it's just from the initial state. So maybe we can do this. Yeah, that seemed to remove that error. So let's do this. Boats, because they come in after timeout. But we have no way of checking if the frog dies yet. So let's add a state for the frog where it's dead. I have prepared an image for this. Frog dead. Source is frog dead. So now we can see that the sprite should change if the frog becomes dead. Okay, let's try it out. See if we can get killed by a truck. Oof! Yes, look at the little skull. I do get a warning of too many updates, so maybe there's something wrong with the dependency array on one of the use effects in the game logic. Let me have a look at that. Okay, I will add a dependency array to the use callback for the keypress handler. But that was not the issue. There must be something up with the... must be missing something here. I think the issue is that I should check that we're actually changing the values when we do the set game over and so on, so that we don't like just check set them over and over. I think that could solve the insane amount of re-renders. So for example, I would do like, if not game over, we set game over, and if the frog is not dead, we set it to dead, and so on. Okay, now let's see if we still have the error. Okay, now it seems to be okay with the re-renders. Let's continue with the boat riding. So here, if we are riding a boat, we should set the frog to x being the boat.x and the y being the boat.y. So now we actually have to play the game in order to test this out, which is interesting. I will try to step onto a boat here. Okay, so it looks like we're not riding the boat, but at least it looked like we survived for a bit when we were on top of the boat, but then once we were on the water we died, so I think some of the logic works at least. And also I see this re-render warning again, so we should probably check for multiple updates on the frog. We check if we're actually changing anything. I think we have the need to compare objects, so in the game helpers I will create a function called object identical that will take in two objects, loop through the properties and values, and see if they are identical. We will do it like this. We will JSON stringify the objects and we will see. I found this on Stack Overflow, of course. So now we can add this to when we ride the boat. We check if there is a need to update the frog or if we're already standing at the right position. So if not objects identical, and we pass in the frog and the new, what we're gonna set the frog to. X boat.x, y boat.y. So if we check, is there a need to update or not? So then we can probably get rid of that error. Let's try it again now. So we're still not getting the position update from the boat. So I'll keep debugging a bit here. Okay, I think I got it to work. The only thing I did was that I was a little bit nicer with what X value the frog should be in. So I said that it's okay that you step no more than like one tile away from the boat, and it will accept you being on the boat, because otherwise it will become too hard to get right on top of the boat. So I will show you now. So now we cross the road and then we can ride the boat, and if we go off the screen we die, which is correct. See if we can jump to the next boat. No, I missed them. And now I'm dead riding the boats. Riding a boat like a dead frog. It's hard to know now if I'm actually, if the game is working or if I'm just a really bad Frogger player. Let's try to see if we can get across with the boats. Yeah. Oh. And let's see if we can cross the finish line and get reset to the starting position. Oh yeah. That's awesome. We have the core of the game is now working actually. It's really fun to see the frog starting to ride the boats for the first time. It's a weird thing to see. I think I will wrap up the video here, and then I will probably add some score tracking and maybe some instructions on how to play the game. I'm also thinking about how to handle, if someone is playing on a mobile phone, I will need to add some physical buttons instead of using the keyboard. So I'll probably add that. I will deploy the game to Netlify. I will add the code to GitHub, and then you can download it and try it out. But this has been a really fun project. Thanks all to you that looked through the whole thing. It's been a long series, and enjoy the game. Please do remix it. Send me how you remixed it or made it even better. Let me know what type of content you want to see in the future. So I hope you like this series. It's fun to build something weird in React, like a 3D game like this. I hope to see you guys next time.